episode 3 of 2 Mums Talking After Road Death. I'm here with Mandy.
Hello.
Hi, Mandy. Today we welcome Catherine, a road victim care coordinator at Road Peace. Welcome, Catherine.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We're so grateful. So, Catherine, tell us about Road Peace and why you're working with them.
Well, Road Peace is a charity that was formed around a kitchen table, I think about 38 years ago, by a mum that had lost her son to road death. And so Road Peace is the charity that supports victims that have lost people to road death, but we also support seriously injured victims to road collisions as well.
Fantastic. I didn't even know
that.
Yeah.
So we are a support service that is different than doing counselling. We support victims by giving emotional support in a non-counselling way. So I'll do support calls with victims. And then we have support groups that are bereaved support groups and injured support groups as well. And they are facilitated by bereaved victims or injured victims. And so it's, it's peer support in a sense that it's not facilitated by counsellors. It's facilitated by bereaved mums or bereaved dads at the parents group, or bereaved siblings at the siblings group, or a regional group like the London group is facilitated by somebody that lost their brother. And it's just anybody that's bereaved to road death, the regional ones. So
it's
it could
quite
be
unique, isn't it? And I know Mandy and I have talked about this before. One of the things that we often say is that we actually can't remember the point where Road Peace came into our lives, really. But we know that, ever since you did, that you've literally been a lifeline for us, because I know that you've done, I think it was Road Peace that put us in touch with, put me in touch with our solicitor at Slater and Gordon. And also there was just so much personal support.
Yeah.
You feel the same, you feel the same, Mandy, don't you?
Definitely. I mean, I think I came to it through somebody at Compassionate Friends who recommended Road Peace for a legal issue as well. And then me and you, Yvonne, met through the resilience programme, the one that was about trauma, which was very powerful. And it was that peer-to-peer thing, I think, that was really, really crucial, because meeting other people who really understood exactly what you were going through was very powerful.
So how did you get to being a care coordinator? What is it that you've got that you bring to the table to help support families like us?
Well, I got into it. So I'm going to say by accident. One of my good friends works for Road Peace. She is not a care coordinator. She has another position. And she was telling me about this amazing charity that she works for. And she, she's worked in the charity sector for a long time, and she applied for the job, really wanted it. She really believed in the ethos of Road Peace. And then she started working there. And after about 6 months, I came in because I'm a therapist. I'm a trained therapist. And I have my own private practice. But I do volunteer work as well. I volunteer at a couple of other charities, and I wanted to work in charity and get support. Not necessarily as a therapist, but in a way that's different than therapy. She's told me, like, they have this job at Road Peace, check them out. And I went onto the website and I looked at them and I was like, wow, this is really powerful stuff. Please do. I mean, the things we talked about, it's not just the peer-to-peer support, which is actually a huge factor of why Road works so well, because it is one victim supporting another in the support groups, in the befriender service, where the one-on-one peer-to-peer support group, which works so well. But the ability to be able to support people with, like you said, advocacy work, campaigning, giving them, some, not saying here is the solicitors we use, but here are some solicitors for you to get in touch with. These are the people we work with and recommend. They have a really good capacity and understanding of what it's like to work with clients that are bereaved road victims or seriously injured, and understand road death and the laws around it, and will go to bat for their victims.
Yeah. And that's what we said before, is that parents like us, or anyone that goes through a sudden death, especially road death, you need your hand held and you need guidance, because you've got all this stuff to organise, even a service, let alone, going through like anything to do with the coroner's court and the police and stuff like that. And you actually need someone to help guide you through and just tell you this is what you need to do next. This is what you need to do next. Do you feel the same, Mandy?
Absolutely. I think, you feel like you're completely all at sea, particularly the legal stuff. I feel like I felt all at sea. I mean, I didn't know who I could trust in terms of the lawyers and stuff like that. I went through a few. I lost some money on the civil court case because the person that we were put in touch with through a friend didn't actually know anything about these kind of cases and didn't
Right.
and then ended up telling us an awful. I mean, he said, well, there's absolutely nothing you can claim for, he said, except the 30 seconds of trauma she would have felt, and I was just like, wow, that's what you're telling me. Yeah,
and so it's really important for us that we have law firms that we can, refer our victims to, that really do understand what it takes to be a lawyer working with bereaved family victims or seriously injured. They understand the process that goes on within law, whether it's, good outcome or bad outcome. They understand all the things that's going to take. They understand how long it's going to take. And, one of those things as a care coordinator is I've got to be able to sort of handhold some of my victims and go to the inquest with them, or, it's been a learning experience, or like learn on the job kind of role for me, because I've had to learn about, the impact of trauma around road death. I've had to learn about the laws and stuff around road death and what the inquest process is like. I've had to learn all these things as I go, and it just makes me more invested in my job and more invested in the victims I'm supporting. And so when I applied the job and spoke to my now manager about the role, I was really excited to be interviewing for the job. So, I'm a road victim myself, in the sense that I am a survivor of road crash and have long-term hidden damage that, you see, you look at me and you don't think, oh yeah, she's very normal. That's long-term hidden damage with neck and shoulder injuries from collision when I was 19. And I had PTSD for years after that. I just didn't know it until... I didn't learn to drive till I was 30, just because of the impact of being a passenger in a car was just too detrimental for me. So, I do have an interest in it from a personal experience, and on a peer-to-peer level as a care coordinator, I can identify as a survivor of road crash as an injured victim when I'm working with injured victims, in a way that some of our people that work at Road Peace are bereaved family members, and they can identify with the bereaved family member on a much more level, much deeper level. So
I've found as a great support is the fact that, when this, tragedy happened to us as a family, you feel so alone, because, it's the sort of thing that you hear on the news or you hear in a drama or a documentary. It's not something that happens to you. And then when it does, there's a panic that you feel that, nobody knows what you're going through because it's no one to talk to. We then started having the support groups, and I was attending them, with Mandy. You then got to talk to people that when they were saying how they felt, you could recognise it, and you could feel that people understand what you're going through. And I found that quite powerful, actually, for me.
I did too.
This is why the peer-to-peer works.
Yeah, definitely. But so with regards to the families, what have you found in terms of what they need? I know we've kind of like I've spoken about what my needs were, but do you feel it's something similar, that they want to meet people that knows what it's going through, or what have you found over the years, is the main thing that families like us need?
I think, people coming seeking for different things. Sometimes they're coming seeking for legal stuff. or, the advocacy work, they don't know where to go or turn. But really what I'm seeing people really need is validation in the impact that it's had on their lives. And the emotional response they're having is, when it comes into road peace, it's like you're having a normal emotional response to losing your person in such a horrific way.
Yeah.
And so it's validation on a level that kind of normalizes the impact of their grief, the traumatic grief they're having versus normal bereavement grief. And so there's a lot of PTSD symptoms. There's a lot of that people aren't even aware about, because it doesn't get spoken unless they're sitting down with a GP and they can list off the symptoms. And they come in and they go to sort of say, what you're experiencing is something I hear time and time again from other family members, other parents, other spouses. You're not alone in the type of experiences that you're having. And it kind of normalizes it. And I'm like, they're not going crazy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that kind of validation. So that's the kind of thing I do see that people need more than specifically than the reason why they're coming in. Like, okay, I need some like legal advice, or it's when we start doing those support calls with our victims and kind of doing I'm going to say a holistic assessment on the first kind of phone call we have with them. That's when we make that connection with them and sort of, and able to start supporting them emotionally right away and just say, yeah, what you're going through is really horrific. And it's normal how you're responding. It's normal that you're having panic attacks. It's normal that, you feel like you're going out of your mind. It's this is the difference between, I sometimes explain it to them for the first time they're hearing it. This is traumatic grief versus, normal bereavement. And that's not taken away from anybody else's bereavement, because bereavement's a bereavement. Painful, regardless of how their person, but there's something very different than traumatic.
And that's what I needed validation from, was because I'd gone through, I lost my mum when she was 54 years old when she died. And, obviously I'd experienced other bereavement with my grandparents and stuff like that. But losing Jack was completely different. And it was to have that validation that there's something, it's not only losing a child, it's losing Jack in the way that we did, where you still can't quite believe that it's happened. And even now, we're 3.5 years down the line, and I still can't quite believe that it's happened. Whereas, I, within, maybe a year and a half of losing my mum, although it was awful, there was something about the natural order and the way that she died, because it was a condition mainly. So that was, I found it really tough, trying to departmentalize my emotions, because they were so completely different from when, the other bereavements that I'd gone through. And road piece helped to, help me understand that there is a bit of a difference.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think that's the validation part that comes into it that I see time and time again.
And the trauma thing is very, very, very much of an issue, I think. Even last night, I woke up, and I do wake up every now and again, hearing the loud knocking on the door. I think, oh God, is there somebody there? Is there somebody there? And then I think everybody's in the house. But it's just, it's
I mean, from when the police were knocking.
Yeah, it just wakes me up, and I think, I don't know whether to go down and look, because I don't know, is it real, or is it just something that I'm just, it's in my head.
Or you probably dreamt it, and it's in your dream, and it's real sad. That is a PTSD symptom, kind of flashback. It's an audio flashback. You can quite often hear about visual flashbacks of people of PTSD, and you hear about it with soldiers. They got visually taken back, but audio, big one. There is the sights, but there's can be like smells or touches that can do flashbacks also.
Yeah.
So, what is experiencing is that sort of audio flashback within a dream, and you're dreaming that knock. It's waking you up. So you do hear it. You're hearing it subconsciously.
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what, Catherine? Just hearing you speaking right now is just bringing me back to our resilience program that we did. And honestly, just how amazing it was that, you know, Mandy and I have spoken about this loads of times, you know, how powerful it was. And there was things that you spoke about. I remember that there was a drawing of a rowing boat, and it was an image to justify how we were feeling, that we felt that we were being pinged back all the time, that, you know, we weren't moving forward. And it was almost like a, you know, a rowing boat getting towards it's not going forwards, it's kind of stuck, or it was something along those lines. And hearing you speaking now is just, you know, bringing me back to that program that I found so helpful. And there were so many things that we went through and learned that made sense. Something made sense. Is that something that Ropeys are going to continue? Because I know it's like a funding thing, isn't it?
So we do the resilience building program for different areas regionally. We do some nationally as well. So we can put together a resilience building program. So we can bring people from all over the country. And we've just had funding for this year. I think that's just ending. So I think they were able to run 4 or 6 resilience building programs. I'm not sure. And then we had some regional ones, like we have the London one that is regional. So we are able to run 2 resilient building programs a year. And I was privileged to be on one of the resilience building programs with both of you lovely ladies. So in my time, we've had 2 last year and we're getting 2 this year. So yeah, it's definitely, I think, for people, you know, they work because they're small groups of between 6 to 9 people with 2 trained counselling facilitators, and it's psychoeducational for people to give them much more understanding about how their brain is processing trauma and how their brain works with trauma versus, you know, no trauma, and that your body has, you know, has an effect from your brain processing differently to that trauma also. Yes, but not just that. It teaches people different grieving styles, and yes, traumatic death versus normal death, bereavement. Yeah, lots of good stuff.
And the breathing exercises that I do throughout the day, every day.
Those are good ones.
Breathing for 6 and out for 3 or something like that. But breathing has been, again, it's just been so helpful.
Me and Yvonne have done the course twice now. We did it twice. And I think it is really interesting because in the first year or 2, you are in such shock and disbelief. And then different things, you go in different phases or it's not those 5 stages or whatever necessarily, but it's because you go backwards and forwards all the time, but it's a different thing sort of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years on, but there's still different things that you're dealing with each time.
So both of you had different experiences from the first time you went on a resilience building program to the second time, because you were different stages in grief, but also I think what you had learned about yourself with traumatic grief the first time and tools that you're given on the first time, you've been able to implement them over the years, and then seeing where you're at in contrast.
Definitely.
Having learned all those skills on the resilience building program, and techniques on how to ground yourself, like the breathing exercises you were talking about, are so imperative, I think, to day-to-day living with anxiety for people with trauma. Just simple little things like that, and be able to see where you're at this time round. The one that I got to meet you guys on.
Yeah, definitely it was, and that was really helpful because, like I said to you when we were on the course with you, is that I had my first book next to me opened up at the same sections, and actually there was parts where I knew I had moved forward in my journey from where I was within the first year. Well, actually, no, I think I joined it was I like 6 months? No.
I think you were very early, Yvonne, very early.
Get me on, I think, on the course, because usually, how long do you have to be?
You have to be at least minimum 6 months.
6 months. So I think I was coming up there. I think I was probably a day out of 6 months. So I was super early, and especially when you do the feeling.
Trauma checklist.
Yes, the trauma checklist. To see the differences there. and it was interesting because there were some parts where I hadn't changed and I was still feeling the same, especially with like sleeplessness and stuff like that. But then there was other bit, the dark areas where, I felt that I'd moved forward, albeit they're just a small bit, but I could see that I was on the right path, sort of thing. So that was really helpful. But I know we spoke about whether there would ever be, the opportunity to have like a refresher course rather than starting the whole course again.
I think that's a really great idea. I mean, and the thing about, Road Peace as a charity, we are always looking at like, what can we do differently? How can we make it better? But, keeping what works and maybe just reorganize some of the things.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about a resilience building program for seriously injured because, they are dealing with loss themselves. And so, and PTSD. And so they can really deal with all the same stuff that your techniques and trauma learnings, psychoeducational stuff that's
the anxiety. I think the anxiety is really exhausting because it just shakes up every single thing. You're worried about everyone or anyone close to you all the time. I just find that I'm still like that, and I don't know how to get out of that really, because every time I go up like the M11 or something, I think this could be the last time. I think that all the time about everyone around me.
Yeah, because you've already experienced loss.
Yeah,
in such a horrific way, and you would never think about that if you hadn't. I think it changes you and scars you so deeply in that way that you never will not think like that again. You never will not think about, this could be the last time I get to say goodbye. This could be the last time that I get to say these things. And so, those little hugs and kisses goodbye every day are so much more meaningful.
Yeah, because something traumatic has happened, and ordinarily in your life, you'd like to think that, obviously people around you are gonna die, because that's just the natural course of it. Our grandparents. Yeah, hopefully it's in the right order. Your grandparents and your parents, but when there's something, that's so sudden and so traumatic, and something that you then, like I've said before, that you hear on the news, or it happens to somebody else, or I keep saying there's something that happens up north. I don't know why I think that.
Right, it's far away.
Yeah, far away. Yeah. It's something that you never think is going to happen in your, to you, let alone to anyone else in your area. So when it does, everything is highlighted, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think I'm going to say it's different than, it's slightly different than a family member that has somebody that's in the army and is at war. Even though that's a really traumatic death of how that person's been killed at war, there is this expectation of family members that have somebody in the army that's at war. Like, there's a good possibility that they could die. So those goodbyes are meaningful every single time. But there is that anxiety ahead of like, there's that possibility, which is different than, you wake up one day and you're going about your day and people, like Jack getting on a bike to leave, or, it's you just so unexpected. And that's what was so traumatic. It's the unexpectedness of it.
And the difficulty.
Go on.
Yes, I was just going to say the difficulty in trying to get that over, even to close members of your family. Sometimes I find they don't realise all this traumatic stuff that's going on, and that still goes on sort of years afterwards. They don't necessarily understand that.
Maybe there needs to be a resilience building program or just a psychoeducational program for family members of family members that are, the non-immediate family members, so that they can understand that insular family that has had the trauma, their non-immediate family members. So just give them that psychoeducational understanding of like, this is the trauma your cousin or your sister or something, is going through, or your niece or nephew is going through, so that you can better understand and support them.
Which is why I suppose Mandy and I had the discussion about doing this podcast, because, there's episodes for everybody, and that's what we wanted to do. We kind of took our experience and, how we have felt, how family members work, lawyers, all different groups of people, how they have, fitted in and whether they've been supportive or not. And I think it'll be interesting to see how far this series 2 reaches out to other people, because series 1 was focused around Mandy and I and our experiences, whereas now we're bringing in the family, the friends, the psychologists and people of support and lawyers and stuff. So I'm hoping that, or our hope is that it will reach out to a wider audience.
That's a brilliant idea. I mean, yeah, you will, I guarantee you will start touching those other people, because it's going to make the other people, also other people that aren't the immediate into the family, and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. I didn't think about that. I didn't, this is my different perspective or take on it, or I'm learning something new.
Yes.
Yeah.
So is there anything new that Road Peace is going through now? Is there anything that's developing, or?
Well, we've recently had a little shuffle with from CEO to CEO, one CEO to another, and this new CEO has been with us since about November. So yeah, 5-6 months, and they really are stepping up and elevating Road Peace to a level that just needed tightening up in a way that we can go forward and expand and support more people. So the things that are happening are more in-house in Road Peace. More people are getting hired. There's changes to the data systems that we're working with. And so we've got, better things that we can work with. Our website's getting a whole overhaul, which is kind of neat.
Amazing.
And so we've got really excellent comms people working on the technical side of stuff with that, with so there's a lot of kind of in-house stuff happening. We've got our big thing that we do every year, where we honour the amount of lives that have been killed the previous year, and we try to raise awareness and funds for each life that has been taken. We want to do that many miles of walking and riding a year, and I know it's got a specific name for it that we do yearly, and I can't remember the name right now because I'm tired. And then obviously we have our annual World Day Remembrance in November.
November.
Yeah, we have there's a lot of people that want to do face-to-face support groups and not online. And there are people that have been with Road Peace that are befrienders, that are volunteers, that have attended support groups in the past, and they want to be in person, have that in-person human interaction rather than online support groups. So that is going to be monthly. They voted for it to be monthly. We've left it up to the people, the participants of the support group. Did you want to do it monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly?
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Kat,
Brilliant.
we're coming to the end of our recording, but honestly, we're just so grateful. Mandy and I asked, we're so grateful that you were able to attend, and you've given us some, food for thought for lots of people, and we're so grateful for you. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Is there anything that you want me to just touch on really quickly before we go, or a last question that I can keep it really short?
I guess about I was wanting to ask about the personal, what you feel you've learned personally from the work at Road Peace.
Wow. Yes. I mean, for me, it's definitely, there's so much. It's a really, really big question to answer right at the end of this podcast. So for me, it's really understanding, and as a therapist, I understood this anyway, and I work with various aspects of trauma, not just bereavement trauma, but other trauma, other charities I volunteer at, but just the impact of it around road death and injuries. It's just, I'm invested. I love this job, and I really love the people I'm working with. But there's so much I've learned around the law of stuff, inquests, how family liaison officers work, good family liaison officers versus not so good. Working, even meeting with the law companies, law firms and stuff. There's just so much I've been learning that is vaster than I could have imagined when I applied for the job.
And when you're passionate about it, you want to learn more, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm about to start a course here, a level 2 on something else, but that could really help. Not a counselling course, I'm just going to say, but it's around safeguarding and prevention and that kind of stuff. It just will help in my job even more, even though I get safeguarding training, but it's just like, what can I do? What can I do to take
an extra layer?
Yeah. And that's important to me. It's really important to me.